Back to follow-up segment tonight, how to solve the border mess. Joining us from Washington, Senator Marco Rubio from Florida. So, Senator, top of the program, we told the audience about polls that are coming in now on the border crisis. President Obama is getting hammered. Vast majority of Americans think he's doing a terrible job there. However, just 23% of Americans believe the Republicans in Congress, of which you are one, are doing a good job. 23%. So you guys are getting blasted as well. So my question to you is, if you were the president of the United States, how would you stop this humanitarian disaster down there?
Well, first of all, it wouldn't have happened because I never would have signed an executive order granting a deferred action to those who were in this country illegally. I think there's certainly a tremendous amount of compassion, but that was not the right way to do it. It sent a message that actually invited people to come, and you see the disaster that has followed. The second thing I would say is that the first step in this process needs to be an all-out effort to finally put to rest the illegal immigration problem in America. And this involves the construction of strategic fencing, but also the deployment of specific technologies like ground sensors and cameras and drones and so forth to secure the southern border with Mexico. It involves an e-verify system to require employers to verify that the people they're hiring are legally here. It involves an entry-exit tracking system, particularly at our airports, because 40% of our illegal immigration problem are people that enter the country legally and overstay visas. That would be the first step in this process. You have to do every single aspect of it, and only after you do that can you move to step two, which is reforming the legal immigration system.
And I agree with you 100%. You got to stop. You got to stop the madness first. But let's deal with the kids now, because this is the humanitarian crisis the whole world is watching. Number one, you have no fence in these hot sectors. You say we should, and I agree. Number two, Governor Perry of Texas is asking, and has asked for years, for the National Guard to go down and help the Border Patrol. Do you favor that?
I do. And again, that has to do with manpower, and that would be part of any effort to secure the border.
Okay. So you put the Guard down there, you show the world the pictures of our military on the border. Right away, just those pictures then would de-incentivize the people for paying these terrible cartels to human smuggle. So you would have a solution. All right. Now, why do you think the folks are holding it against the Republicans? Are they believing President Obama when he's trying to blame you guys for the border madness?
I think it's an indictment of all of Washington, of the failure for more than a decade to deal with a problem that we know exists. Unless you are in favor of the status quo, unless you look at what's happening now and say, I think this is working for America, you have to be in favor of fixing it. So that's not really the debate. The debate is, how do you fix it? And in my mind, the first step in fixing this is to stop the growth and the problem that we have right now with illegal immigration, and then to begin to erode that number, to lower it, so that you can move to step two, which is reforming the legal immigration process towards one that is based on merit and works for our country in the 21st century.
Would you send the kids back?
Yes, and I'll tell you why that's important. Because the leading reason why this is happening is word of mouth is spreading, that if you make it to the United States as an unaccompanied minor or as a family with children, you're going to be treated differently than adults who are traveling by themselves. And that word gets back. So imagine for a moment if someone comes across the border as a family or as an individual, they're now released into the population, supposed to, with a notice to appear, but of course they never will or do. And then what happens is they call back home, people see they made the voyage safely, and you've now created a word-of-mouth incentive for others to do the exact same thing.
So you would send them back, you would get the increased courts, the judges down there, get them out, because that's going to be a big thing when that starts to happen. How many times have you spoken to President Obama personally about immigration reform?
Well, we've spoken a couple of times, but not in more than a year. And again, my conversations always began with what I've been saying publicly, and that is anyone who's in favor of immigration reform must first be in favor of border security
reform. And then what does he reply to that?
Well, I think they don't necessarily, well, 2 points. Number one, the thing they'll say is the border's never been more secure, which is true for a handful of the sectors, but not for the others. Not for the Rio Grande sector, not for other sectors that we've seen, the Tucson sector of the border where people are crossing. And that's been a real challenge, is that their argument, if you recall, he gave a speech in El Paso a few years ago where he mocked people who said we needed more border security by talking about how we would insist on a moat with alligators in it. And of course, now we've seen that the border is in fact not secure.
All right, Senator, we appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.